Today, we are going to talk about composition in magazine collage. So we're going to start with the very simplest thing, and this is from photography, it's from doing anything, and it's called the rule of thirds. So if this is our paper, right, this is going to be our paper each time, then you want to put your lady or your focal image or whatever you're doing on one of those lines. You don't want her right in the center. And I see a lot of people do this. I'm going to have to add a 1.A. 1A. Go off the edges. I don't have this. So it's going to go in 1A while I'm thinking about it. Okay, so if you put her right in the middle, then all of a sudden you have this really need to balance things and do all this. But if you set her off to the side, then all of a sudden you have all this space over here. I will show you this on a page. So here, right? So on this page, the rule of thirds is a third, and then this is right down the middle, right? But this lady and the focus of the piece is on that left third. So you want to do that. Now, if you have it long ways, then you're going to go this way, right? Now, they'll go off the edges. What I'll see a lot of people do is they will never go off the edges. Like they'll never have a lady go off the side or their stuff going off the side. And what happens with that, when you have everything right in the middle, and then you have all your bits and pieces, right, in here, right, all of a sudden it feels like you can feel that there's something wrong. But if you were to take this and go off the edge of the page and maybe bring that in, maybe bring this one down in the corner, cut off a little bit of each of those, now all of a sudden it starts to feel like it's real for magazine collage for a lady with butterfly wings. But definitely rule of thirds, and if you can, make stuff go off the edges. Rule number 2. Okay, let's talk about backgrounds now. So you can have a neutral background, right? One that has, trying to find my art journal. All right, so this is a neutral background. This is all relatively the same color. This is a neutral background behind here. So they're all relatively the same color. There's nothing jumping out at you, nothing scary. And then you can have high contrast, right? So your background isn't fighting with whatever you're doing, okay? You can also have either a super busy background. Oh, I glued my stuff together. There's a shocker. I glue my stuff together all of the time. All right. So you can also have a high contrast background, right? So where you have this, the back of the page kind of sinks back because it's darker, and the front of the page jumps out at you because there's a higher contrast. I'm sure I have this here somewhere. I can show you. I'm not sure I love any of those examples. But that's when you have a really dark background and then you have a light foreground. Now, while we're talking about darker background, we're going to do 3A. Light at the top and dark at the bottom. Okay. So, one of the things about humans is we think light things should go on the top. So if you think about the sky and the ground is dark and brown and the sky is light and blue, right? So if you want to make things feel normal, you would, if you're doing a gradient, say you were going to do pink to purple, you would go light pink, medium pink, light purple, dark purple, right? So you want to have light at the top and get darker as you go down, because dark feels heavier than light colors, okay? Ooh, this is one of my favorite ones with magazine collage, okay? We're gonna talk about scale now, because what I see happening is people have a lot of trouble figuring out how to make things look like they should go together, right? So you're taking ridiculous things and putting them together and then not feeling like they look right, even though they shouldn't go together anyways. So let's talk about scale. So she has little tiny fairy wings, right? She's a very skinny girl. She's got skinny arms. She's kind of tall and skinny. She would look super different if I had put giant wings on her, right? Then all of a sudden the wings are the feature and the girl isn't so much the feature, right? So you want to think about, if you're adding things to your person, a lot of times I'll put bigger eyes on them, or I'll put a bigger head on a little body. That's fine as long as you're thinking about how those scale things go. So you wouldn't put a big head on her, little body, and then big wings. That would bother human beings' eyeballs. Another thing about scale that you can think about is kind of your background images. Do you want your background images to just be a little something something, you know, something fun? These are slices of watermelon jello you could put in. But if you were to use a big item like this, you'll see that suddenly that kind of overtakes her. Now, that's not the worst thing that ever happened. And maybe if I cut it out and we could see the background some more, you would be happy with it. But that's one of those things with scale that, like, sometimes I'll put these bracelets on their heads as a crown, but this is way too big for this lady, right? So you want to be very cognizant of scale. All right, this is my favorite. Telling a story is my favorite. So the story that I'm telling with this lady without her hair, because I didn't like her hair, is that she's kind of happy, she's friendly, she's kind of funky, right? The story I'm telling with Godzilla is that spaceships came down and they irradiated Godzilla, and he was climbing up on the bridge in New York City, right? So I always like to have some kind of story to my piece. This one, I found this girl it's in a fashion magazine. I think they're trying to sell a pocketbook, right? But she's carrying around a buzzard, and for me, that was like, if I had a buzzard to carry around, nobody would ever bother me because they would leave me alone. And so that was the theme of this piece. This piece was fun and flowers and colorful, and this little guy's surfing, and then the birdies are sitting on his surfboard. So I like to have a story in what I'm making. That kind of helps me pick out items that are going to work for things. So I had this piece from a vintage magazine for years, and I just loved it. It says Dunstan Hall burned, and it used to say last night. And it's like these people walking down a haunted stairway, right? So when I was getting ready to do my Halloween journal, right, that was the perfect back cover. And to me, this tells a whole story. This is that these people are staying at Dunstan Hall, and now they're having to walk down this haunted stairway. It goes with everything that I love about Halloween and scary in the journal. So tell yourself a story. Even if it's in your head, you don't have to share it with people like I do. All right, using colors. So I want to talk about using colors. So this girl was on a piece. I cut her out of a piece that was all yellow. So if you use a monochromatic color scheme, meaning just one color, mono, right, you can make this look really cool. This could be a very cool piece. It would be like, I would probably paint a yellow background or maybe a light blue background, and that would be monochromatic. But you can use color also to tell your story. So if you see this lady's body, say we were to put this girl's head on her, right? All of a sudden, she goes from being this little prim and proper lady to now she's at a beach having a cocktail on the thing, but we got that all from the colors and the fanciness and the casual nature of this outfit. That's all from colors. So it doesn't just have to be for your people. I will use colors like this. This green, I know it's a broccoli, but it's going to be a tree in a background someday, right? Because green is trees, and so I can totally sell this. I'll probably come up here. I'll make this stem a little bit littler, this stem a little bit littler, probably leave that stem. And I will totally sell this as a tree because it's green, and humans think that trees are green, right? Whether or not it's a broccoli, you can do that. So you always want to try to be looking for colors. Do you want to have, and I have a whole little book about color theory if you want. It's on my website, Artsy Fartsy Life, if you go to the front page. But you want to start thinking about using color, because if you know that red and green are complementary colors, they're across from the color wheel, you know that those will be high contrast and you'll be able to use them. If you know that red and yellow are more side by side on the warm side of the color wheel, you know that they'll go together. So it's definitely worth taking a minute to learn a little bit about using color for your magazine collage. All right, creating a focal point, right? So I've been using this lady as a focal point, meaning that that's something for you to look at. So that she would be the focal point, and then I would have everything going on around her. But you want to think about where your focal point is going to go in your collage, right? As you're trying to sell a magazine collage as being real. So if I had this little kid flying through the air, I would have him at the top and maybe have him in danger, or I would have something happening to him, or maybe I'd put birds flying around him. But I would definitely want to use that light on the top, dark on the bottom to give that feeling of him being up in the air on this page. Now I did this page for a cover for a notebook I made for a conference in 2019, and I found Boy George, right? So on this page, because all of these fishies are blue and the zebra's blue, all of this is ink. This is an artist I took out of Tampa Bay Magazine. I didn't make this art. But because everything else is blue and black and Boy George is this color, he is the focal point. I don't know if there's one on the inside. Hang on. Nope. Do we have one? Nope. No focal points. I was going to show you the one with the surfer dude again. He, even though a lot of the same color is there, he is definitely the focal point, but I don't know where that book is right this second. All right. Let's talk about to border or not to border, right? I don't tend to have lots of borders. I tend to have big giant borders like this. Like this is a border and he is the part in here. Let's see, do I have any borders? I don't border, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't border, right? Here's a border. So we made a border with the white embossing and the white tissue paper and framed her face, right? So there's a border around there. I do border, yeah. Oh, there he is. So he's the focal point. These are accessories, and then the flowers are just backgrounds. You could have like a middle border like I do that cuts the page. So you want light on the top, dark on the bottom. Not big on borders, but you may love borders. I see lots and lots of magazine peeps using borders. So what you want to think about when you're doing a border is, do you want it to be the same distance out all around, or do you want it to be in and out, right? Do you want it to be different shapes? I tend to do that. I'm going to do some more borders. I'm ordering some Diane Reevely collage things to do with you. So she always does a border, so we're gonna definitely do some borders in the videos coming up. But you can also use other things to do borders, like you could do ticket stubs around the border. You don't have to have like a typical border thing to be able to have a border around your project. It's just not something that I do an awful lot. All right, big or little words. Words freak people out, right? They don't like their writing. They don't like what they're doing. But first off, you can find words in magazines, so you could cut out your words in the magazines, or you could write them yourself, okay? Or you could print them on paper and then stick them in. I have a video about how to make words where you cut them out on, you write them on tissue paper and you cut them out so you don't have to worry about making mistakes. You could do that too. So there's a bunch of ways to get words in, but right now I want to talk about, are you going to use big or little words? So if you were to say, right? So if you're going to make the big concept of this page that she flies, right? So you might do a quote about women flying. You might do a quote about all different kinds of things. But you would want to put that word somewhere that, so if I was going to do this one, her eyes, I don't know if you could see this, but her eyes are pointed this way. I would actually do it this way, so her eyes are looking at the big word. But that notwithstanding, you could also do a big word down, right? So you could have a big fat word down. So you could say fly like an eagle, right? So you could do that kind of thing here. Or if you like, I love when people do the little words, right? So you could do a whole series of little words in boxes. And you'd put one over here. You'd put one over here. Again, I would have her eyes pointing at the words. But you can decide whether you want to have really big words or really little words. And because Tisha Moore is kind of my, I don't know if she was the first one, but she's a lady who did a lot of art journaling. She does amazing work. But she does words all the time in her journals. So she usually has a border, right? She has a border around it, and then she journals. She writes what is going on in her life in there. And so for me, it felt like when I started, I had to have lots of words, or I had to have any words. On most of my pieces, I don't have a whole lot of words. You could use stamps to make words. But if you are going to use words, again, let's think about the scale of this. You would want to make sure that your scale is in conjunction with what's going on in the rest of your piece. All right, last one. Oh, you do you. I love this one. I made this one just for you. Okay, that is a lot of rules, right? That is 11 rules because I snuck 2 extra ones in there. But what I do want to tell you is break every rule, right? Like, do not get so hung up on the rule of thirds that you waste a ton of time figuring out where to put something. Or don't get so freaked out that you can't use pink with yellow because they're not on the same kind of side of the color wheel and you need contrast or anything like that. Just make sure, see, she's looking at him. Just make sure that you're doing something that makes you happy as opposed to what makes everybody else happy. I know it's really, especially when you get started, it's good to copy other people's styles, but you also want to start getting an idea of what you like. So I like people with weird heads, right? I like little tiny bodies and big heads. I actually like to use monochromatic colors a lot. I like the color black a lot. I do a lot of black embossing. I like to use the gel press for backgrounds so that I don't have to fuss around with it. I like realistic. Like, I don't like anything cartoony or cute or sweet. I very rarely use pink or purple. Everything's always real bright, sharp colors. You start to figure out what you like and don't like, and then you can start to make art that you love. So Hopefully that helps. Tara Jacobsen, Artsy Fartsy Life.